Well, can people hear me? I've never streamed before, and I have delay on this stream apparently, even though I turned stream delay off. So I have no idea if you can hear me. I can't wait for Kevin to troll me in the chat, so I have no idea if I can actually be heard. Oh, sick. Okay, so it's literally just Bunger and Kevin right now, which is really funny. So we'll make this into a VOD more than anything. So main point of this stream is to kind of talk about my 12 pounder this year that I ran Sievert, go through a little bit of how and what I chose making it, and then go through some fight footage, and then talk a little bit about the future. So pretty much going to start with just the basic CAD model. FYI, my CAD models are terrible. You'll notice all the working planes I didn't turn off, as well as a bunch of random sketches on parts. So I also hid my model tree because it's terrible and people would make fun of me. So I'm not going to do that. So pretty much my start with Sievert was around the December finals last year for NHRL. I kind of was burnt out running the same 3 pounder all year. So, oh yeah, Julian, I did steal your banner by the way because I was lazy and forgot. So thanks for that. So pretty much my choice was to make a 12 pounder because I liked pain. And, I liked even more pain. So I said, let me make a horizontal because it'll be fun. And I'd seen Ariel Biagini run Beetlejuice enough where I was like, this could be really fun to drive and kind of play around with. So I started designing it little after finals at NHRL. Probably ordered my China parts maybe mid January, and then had the robot together before going to Motorama, which was the first event. Um, but yeah, Ben, it's definitely a vert. But pretty much my target for this robot was to fight at Motorama Conflict over in Pennsylvania in February. It's the President's Day weekend, which is good. So pretty much I was working through it, and I ended up picking a bunch of parts, with help from Zoe, as well as some of my teammates, Kevin, Corey, and Donald. I talked with Zoe because she had helped Dominic make Honeyfied. So the first revision of Sievert has a lot of similarities to Honeyfied, as well as some additions that did and didn't get used. The main things to note are these are 2310s on repeat Ultra V2s, and they're indirect driven with gears. That way, I could protect my motors from getting hit directly, which will come up in the future. Then there's a 3525 Sunny Sky motor that we have in here. And the idea of this was to run a timing belt with the teeth on the inside to run to a smooth pulley to give it some grip. And I'd gaff tape it to get the belt tension right, as well as some more friction. The other thing to note is this weapon stack, because it'll come up later, is a big hunk of aluminum with two 5/8 needle bearings through a shoulder bolt with some 1024 screws holding it down and some thrust washers. The blade diameter on this robot is 11.5 inches at this point. And if you recognize this blade, it's because it's a scaled up version of the Lynxer made by Johnny Supas, one of our team members. He was kind enough to adjust the blade to my tastes and helped me throughout every time I wanted to update the blade. So this was the start of the robot. So with that, my plan is for each event I talk about, I'm going to cover one or two fights. The other thing to note on this robot is for this iteration, it used an 1850 6S GNB battery that will come up later as maybe it wasn't truly what it said it was, but that's that. So now let's watch a couple of fights. So the first fight I want to show you is the first fight I ever fought with it against Void, run by Trevor from Team Defective. Let me know if you can't hear the YouTube audio, by the way. I think it should be okay.
Hit the button. Thank you. And the blue square.
So this is the first time I'd ever really driven the robot in a box.
They're ready to go.
And I'd also never driven a kinetic robot and didn't
Heavyweights.
understand the 12-pound
Let's
weight
go.
class. So you'll see what happens.
Vertical versus horizontal.
I get a big hit on the first
Does not
impact,
disappoint. Second
and
roof
I'm
hit
not sure if the
of the
camera will
event.
show.
And now Void is upside
Trevor
down,
was nice
carving
enough
up
to
our floor.
taco my blade
Their
as well
self-threading
as parts of
mechanism
my
is
frame in
running
that
to
first hit.
fall upside down at full
So
speed.
while he was upside down, I tried to push him around a little bit,
Strike.
and eventually I tell Ariel to
Void's
tap
right side up
because
again
I
and
know I'm not winning
sends
the fight,
Sievert
and the robot
flying
is already
several
kind of
times.
messed up.
And that's it. Tap the button if
So
you're tapping.
that was my
There we
first experience
go.
driving anything with kinetic energy, and the first time I'd ever
I told you the
experienced
12 pounds
pain.
don't take it easy.
So you
You're
can
a
actually
winner by
see
tap.
here, which I didn't know until Kevin pointed out, I actually cleaved through his armor on the first hit. So I did get a good hit, but then he returned the favor and sent me to the moon, which was very painful. This was also when I learned that Motorama is pain. What I mean by that is, if you're familiar with NHRL, Moto is not meant for robot combat. It's meant for RC cars, quads, all that stuff. What that means is there's no big pit space or big anvils and stuff. So when I bent something, that stuff was done. So from this fight forward, I only had one singular frame. And one, I think I had one blade left too, technically. So pretty much I was running on one of everything for the remainder of the event. And this was my first fight of the day, 2 hours in. And spoiler, I made it to day two. So the other fight I kind of want to show you is a fight I had against Junkernaut, made by Chris from Team Defective as well. Now, what's interesting about Moto, and the reason why I'm mentioning it now, is pretty much that there's steel kick plates and a wood floor. Now, Moto has an interesting problem, which is this arena gets used for 30s, 30 sportsmen's, and 12 pounders. What that means is this floor gets a lot of chunks in it, and it's also like a thin, I think, piece of quarter-inch ply. Also, Aiden, yeah, I really hate the frog. It's kind of not my child anymore, so I kind of wiped it from my brain, which is really funny because I actually forgot that that robot existed when I said my first kinetic robot. It's also just a copy of Kevin's homework that he did on JMO's homework. So back to this little tirade, this little sidebar on the floor. Moto has a problem where the floor gets messed up and they change it between days. One of the problems is the 12 pounders dig the floor. The thing that ruins the floor are 30-pound sportsmen's, because 30-pound sportsmen's love getting their forks in the floor and lifting it. This will come up during this fight in particular, and it taught me a great lesson about looking at the floor and watching where I drive. So pretty much, I'd had a fight before against Craig, which was made by Ethan Shipley. That had went all right. I'd eaten some wheel guard, but the robot, this frame hadn't taken any damage. This was my third fight.
Pound hobby weights in this fight. In the red square, we have
So you can see here a bunch of these big chunks.
Red square, ready. And the blue square, we have Sievert. Sievert, are you ready?
Blue square, ready.
It's ready to go. Let's put 3 minutes on the clock.
3, 2, 1.
So Chris tries to get me because I'm staying in my corner, but I managed to hit him on his head, which is very lucky for me. And then I go to hit him again, but I miss, but I hit the steel kick plate, which is good. The weird thing with the weapon is there's some bug with the V-Good where I have to go down to 0 to 100. It never came up ever again. Now this is me getting stuck in the floor because I'm using a shoulder bolt, because there's a nice gouge in the floor. I actively was cursing, and there were children probably behind me who heard a lot of F-bombs, because I've never been so angry in my life getting stuck in the floor. So Moto also doesn't help you. If you get stuck in the floor, you lose. So I'm just trying to rock back and forth to get the shoulder bolt out. Then I'm like, I gotta go hit him. And you know what I do immediately? I'm going to get him. I get stuck in the floor again. It is painful. I managed to get out. I hit him. And in that
Now
hit,
we're right side up again.
I believe, no, I didn't take his weapon out quite yet, but I damaged his drive pretty badly on one side because it's just UH&W front and I just kind of cleave
Sievert's
through
gonna have
stuff.
to find like the
And
finest
then I
middle of
believe
thread to
this
not get
hit,
stuck in another gap on the
my
floor.
weapon just
Which means we have
randomly will
not
go down.
designated for uneven floor surfaces.
And I don't really know
There
why,
goes a
but
bumper
I was
piece
fortunate
on
enough to
Junkernaut.
kind of just impair him enough where it was okay, and he lands on his head
See
and his
Junkernaut
weapon
flip
kind of just
over.
dies.
And now we
Then I'm
have
like, oh, I got to push him around. And I get very, very, very lucky,
and are they stuck
which
together? Nope. Thank
is
you.
I land him on his head and he does the thing. And since
You
he has
done
no
a
weapon,
thing there,
he gets
Junkernaut.
counted out.
Oh no.
So
All right.
those are the two fights I kind of want to show from Moto. The rest of my day was a lot of luck, not a lot of skill. I ended up fighting Void again, where I got lucky and Trevor had a bad Rhino on the first hit we had, where I managed to take out his weapon. And then I eventually smoke a motor, which is a theme for this robot, because it's this stupid little 3520, which I don't understand how Honeyfied runs this on 4S and doesn't blow it out every fight. Because I guess I'm just putting too much voltage through, even on a low KV. It just wants to burn out like crazy. Um, so pretty much with that, I fight Void again. I get lucky and I manage to brick his weapon and his Rhino on the first hit, and then I get a couple more hits where I eventually burn out my weapon motor. We push around. I'm down half drive. He's down a little bit, and I managed to win the JD, which I probably would have had to guess would have been really close. I honestly didn't think I won it at the time. Following that, I fight Blue Marlin, which is driven by Bob, who's also from Team Defective. I fought a lot of Team Defective today, spoiler. Where in that fight, I actually got lucky where Bob managed to feed me off his wedge, and I managed to actually break his disc, so it became unbounced, and he smoked and died. Very lucky because he was kind of punting me around, and I just got very lucky. Then I ended up fighting Don Dorfler and Disco. And Disco was the most terrifying fight I've ever had because there's a lot of legend with Don and throughout the community of how good he is at what he does. And I managed to get lucky effectively and win a fight against him where I managed to clip his belt and he landed on his head, similar to this. Um, I was kind of getting outdriven around, and that was that. My final fight of the day was against Carmen from Team Defective, who just immediately murdered me. I was not driving well in that fight, and Michael just destroyed me as he should have. Ended up tapping, and he got the win, which was great for him. I know Michael had a long time coming trying to get a win at Moto, especially, and it worked out for him, which was great. So, following that, I then wanted to make a few. Do I think I got lucky? Oh, I got incredibly lucky, Shri. I fought the most number of fights, and every fight I just got lucky hitting something and turning people off in weird ways. Like, I literally hit one third of Bob's disc on a counterweight and just shattered it because it happened to be special steel, and it did not like getting hit. I would have gotten the mementos to show, but I effectively bent it and sheared it. Um, and I'm not good at driving it. I'm going to get into that in the next one. So pretty much after Moto, I wanted to fight this at April NHRL because it gave me some time to make some changes. So one of the changes I ended up making after getting stuck in the floor repeatedly is I actually went and got a hollow shaft with bolts in the end, and I ended up doing that into my top and bottom plates so I could then use caps. The reason why I ended up doing caps was actually an idea from Lyndon and Jillian, who are on our team from the Bot Barons, because they do these caps out of Super PLA Plus on Emperor, and they worked really well. And it effectively gives me like a skid plate so I don't get stuck in floor crevices. I kind of just glide over them. And it's been a great addition. It also helps retain the hollow shaft because sometimes it likes to unscrew itself, which is pretty funny. So after this, I ended up going to April NHRL with a few changes, but nothing too crazy. So I'm just going to open a video for it, and we can take a look. For reference, I'm very tech illiterate and I'm stupid. So I don't know how to do anything, FYI. So pretty much going into the day, I'd already fought someone, which was nice. I got a little warm-up, which is very good. And then I ended up getting Glenn with Caldera 12. Now, I actually have a belt guard that I decided not to run because I wanted to have the most amount of reach. And believe it or not, that reach really mattered in this fight. So we'll kind of play through it and see. And you'll see what happens.
So this is Glenn's new big bot.
Fight, robots, fight.
Caldera 12.
Oh, sparks flying on there.
So I get stuck in the wall immediately. And Glenn takes a hit while I'm getting unstuck, which is good. That's why I mentioned the steel kick plates at Moto. They saved me quite a bit when I bounce off walls. In this case, that was the first time I've ever gotten stuck in the wall. And the other thing to note, there's not a lot of weight left, so I do very thin wheel guards. Glenn ate my wheel guard.
Yes.
And I'm able to translate because my weapon's spinning and I'm able to drive, but Glenn clearly is trying to wait for me to get counted out. At some point, he decides to go in because he realizes he has to or he'll lose the fight.
I don't know that it's going to matter.
So then we start banging fist on face, and this goes on for quite a bit.
He had a pretty good bend. Oh, look, no. It is the wheel guard from Sievert has blocked the weapon. It's completely caught up in the weapon of Caldera 12, and that's why it's not spinning.
It's a case of lost and found robot parts.
So we kind of just keep hitting each other. Glenn's trying to clearly get me to hit into the wall or Brett.
Wow.
And all I'm doing is just spinning up, down,
really
up, down, up, down.
Impressing me here.
Just
I
moving.
was expecting, I guess, a little more from
It's working
Caldera
pretty good.
12.
Surprisingly
Just
better
being a
translation
bigger
than I would have
version of
thought.
Caldera,
Glenn's
but
clearly
they
trying to get his
are
weapon
on
to
the
spin.
ropes, so to speak, right now.
So we hit a few more times. And every time I'm cutting more and more through Glenn, which I'm hoping at some point his weapon will fall out. That fortunately doesn't happen, though. Unfortunately.
Very impressive driving work. It's so hard to be a horizontal spinner like Caldera and still...
and then we get stuck together.
They've locked horns.
We actually get really locked to the point where they spend a long time unsticking us.
Has been engaged,
and I'm actually going to skip ahead a little bit because it goes on for a while.
It's such a hard
and during this unstick, I'm just sitting there quietly, hoping we'll go to the judges instead of getting unstuck.
Continuously gum up the works.
And Julian had a question, what were the most significant changes between Sievert and Caldera 12?
We are going to,
the answer is not many, Julian. I did do a little bit of blade optimization with help from Tim Hebert, where we tried to make it less likely to bend, but it's the same robot. The only difference is I made some adjustments to the wheel guards and went to hollow shaft and different plates. And I kind of just said, I'm going to go weapon to weapon and see what happens. So you can see we're really stuck together. And they're giving it their all to unstick us. And I'm just like, we don't know if we can get unstuck. The other thing that's funny is Glenn is trying to get them to spin their weapon. His weapon around to unjam the thing, which they didn't do, but I saw what they were doing. Because he's like, oh, if you spin my blade around, we can get out.
It looks like the wheel
and I would have done the same thing if I were Glenn.
Belt guard at this point.
Yeah, it's one of those situations.
But you can see we've kind of cut into each other underneath. What's crazy is if you look, you can see it's blurry. You can see how much I've cut through his carbon fiber, and I actually have this carbon fiber upright as well as the shaft. I actually cut about halfway through the shaft and almost all the way through the carbon fiber. So if this fight had gone on for like another minute, hypothetically, there's a world where I could have actually cut through his weapon stack, which would have been really cool. I still have them, and they're great little keepsakes that I have in my cabinet. But you can see we're really stuck together.
Sorry to interrupt that train of thought, but you can see Sievert's weapon is lodged between the weapon and the chassis rail on Caldera 12. It's this... there's an extreme amount of clamping action there.
Yeah, it's just wedged in.
And we are just waiting.
I don't know if the safety crowbars are going to be enough here.
There's only a certain amount of trial that we'll put into place before we do give up, and it goes to a judge's decision.
Intro puts a lot of effort into unsticks,
like,
which I respect.
I bet I could get that out of there. I don't know what that accent was, but if I was cage side, that's how I'd look at it.
I don't know if that's going to make it into this season's White Lotus.
It's
So everyone's
not.
night. Oh, see, they
There
got
we
us unstuck
are, there
finally.
we are.
So I'm gonna pause for 1 sec. Anyone who fights at NHRL, this is a very important thing to know. If you get stuck together and they unstick you, they are to put you back in the orientation in which you got stuck together. I am upside down right now, as is Glenn. The reason why this matters, and it wouldn't have mattered for the JD, I lost anyway. Spoilers, because entanglement at NHRL, if it's from me and they undo it, they undid it. Glenn's weapon worked. That's totally fair. I would have wanted the same if it was for me. So he had full function. I had lost half drive, and Glenn had control. So like I wasn't winning the fight anyway. But the reason why I mention this is my top plate is a little further out than the bolts on the bottom. And losing this wheel, you'll see why, if I had thought about it, I would have asked them to flip me back over on my head. And for reference, by the way, Glenn kept asking, but they don't take it out during the fight, Ariel. They do the same thing that they did at Teams with you and Eruption. They take it out post-fight, which they won't show, but it's like affecting the match flow effectively. But I start upside down.
Good job to Alex.
And if I had been smarter, I would have asked him to flip me on my head.
Truly
But I was stupid and forgot about it.
With the mini crowbar.
It's difficult to get the leverage on these robots. You know, they don't have a lot of big flat surfaces that like to be pried on. They're kind of designed to be a little slippery. You know?
Especially for these robots that are...
So the reason why this matters is my translating sucks because I am now slightly higher off the floor and I'm rubbing differently. So I'm barely translating at this point.
Sievert also not really able to do much.
Now, Glenn does lose half drive, but he kind of has won the fight at this point. He knows he just has to serve the count out.
Is just going to want to take this one to the bell. Looks like they've stopped moving. No, there they go.
So, and that's the fight. We go to the judges. They remove the piece of debris. Glenn shows full function. I lose the fight. Couple things I learned during this fight. Rake is bad in heavier weight classes when you have these giant 4x4 wood plates. I had been running 15-degree rake blades consistently because pretty much Beatles were doing that, Johnny was doing that, others were. And I'm like, that's fine. As soon as I got stuck in the wall, I immediately said, I'm going to make blades with either 5-degree or no degree rake, meaning 0 degree, which is way better. Definitely something that I learned from this. The other thing that's interesting is reach matters. Glenn actually, on this pulley stack, my belt's here, and my metal aluminum is here, and my blade's here. Glenn actually hit it perfectly below my belt and cleaved out a nice 1-inch thick chunk. It was actually beautiful how Glenn did that. And I don't know how he didn't hit my belt. Literally didn't hit the belt. Hit perfectly between the two on our first hit. The other thing, Sheree, is the way I run my belt, I don't have the friction to get it out of the wall. I have the Jake Maximizer problem. Where when I get stuck in the wall, I'm stuck in the wall. Speaking from experience on other times. Because genuinely, I've also just learned hitting people with big hunks of steel seems to be pretty good, which is surprising. So that's that fight. The other fight I want to show is my fight against Void. So after this fight I had lost, I had fought Shree's favorite robot, Hockey, which I called Hokey, which apparently is the best name ever for the name of a robot. And Shree told me that he loves that I named the Robo Jackets robot that. Which is funny. And that fight was pretty simple. I kind of just spun into a giant melty brain, and the system worked. And Matt, I can't break the wall. I'm not blue cheese. I'm sorry that some of us can't self-write and break a polycar panel. Yeah, it was hokey, dude. And I pretty much just broke their in-runner off in half. They were an aluminum thing. It was fun to hit. So after that fight, I got Void. Now, the thing I didn't realize is if I had, as soon as I lost the fight against Caldera, I was guaranteed to get Void because Void, I think, was number 2 seed. Glenn was number 1 or something like that. And I effectively inherited the lower seed, and we fight each other instead. So Trevor knew he was fighting me for a while, and I didn't. And I was like, oh, dang, this is going to suck. So pretty much fix the robot up from all my fights, bring it into the box, and we fight again. This is the 3rd time I fought Trevor this year, and we are currently 1-1. So I kind of want to win this.
Action. We've got Sievert taking on Boyd.
Sievert is in the blue corner with the pink blade, the pink wheel guards. It's a horizontal spinner from Matt Lantry.
So
Pretty well
get ready to
driven.
go.
Matt's a heck of a driver anyway, but this
Kyle's calling me heck of a driver. Not yet. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to just hit him. And this hit, Kevin and I are like, oh, he's dead. I have a chance because Trevor sheared all of my bolts that are 1024s in my blade stack.
Okay.
And tacoed my blade again.
Its own design tree now.
So randomly drives into the wall. I'm like, I'll get a pin. Maybe he will die.
That was
Spoiler alert, he doesn't.
But these are two of the
So I'm like, it's the end of the day. I'm just going to send it.
Guys versus the defective guys.
So I'm like, I'll keep sending my blade into his weapon. Maybe it'll break it. Maybe it won't.
Hit there from the Void.
You can see my bottom plates are bent.
Weapon must have been bent on Sievert. It's no longer spinning.
So I'm just like, let me keep driving into him.
A little bit taco, doesn't it? Maybe like a lazy.
I'm like, maybe he can bend my blade back. I had hopes, you know, a lot of dreams, a lot of hopes and dreams.
Ow.
And you can see Trevor's taking it very slow and easy, not hitting me as hard.
Driver, but there is no
Gets stuck on the wall. Trevor
Sievert.
knows that I need to call for my own stick. He's just waiting.
Struggle against Void.
Call for my own stick because you know why not?
He calls this unstick.
I'm shocked Trevor didn't go to hit me, but I guess he knew the fight was already over anyway, and the only way I could lose is if he turned off, so why hit me more than he needs to? So he's waiting. I'm like, let me go drive into him again. Gonna keep driving into him.
Sievert
so hits me on the wall. Get off.
Anything
Luckily,
could happen in this match.
Yeah, minute and 23 seconds left. Literally anything could happen.
Just keep hitting face to face. Break my fist with your face.
But Void seems to have regained his footing after that massive impact at the very start of the
keep
match.
Getting hit. You can see how taco the blade is at this point.
Right after, but now he's looking in top form.
And then I land on the wall again, and that's the end of the fight. Trevor gets a well-deserved win, and I am now 1-2 against Void for the year. Takeaways from this fight. I suck at driving. I'll explain a little more after. The other takeaway is I finally, Moto Michael Shore had actually, with Carmen, had actually sheared bolts on one of my hubs as well. And this was the second one I sheared bolts on, so I finally ordered new hubs. And got weight back. So I'll show that in a sec, as well as some of the changes from this revision to the next, because I also changed a bunch of other things. So takeaway from this, I'm not a good driver, even though people just said I was. The reason I'm not is I didn't look for angles. I kind of just said I can hit someone and break them, because that's how it had worked. I just hit someone and break them. The best advice I've gotten driving this robot came from Donald Sung, the guy behind Torrent and Basics on our team. Donald said, every fight, you shouldn't try to hit someone for 20 seconds. What I think it really does for me is two things. It lets me calm down and make sure I'm not stressing out, as well as it makes me look for a hit instead of just going weapon to weapon and seeing what happens. And since then, I've kind of adopted that unless there's some reason why I can't. And I just take my time and try to look for a hit instead of just hitting face into enemy, throwing someone and hoping they die. Because that just doesn't work in the bigger weight classes. So we're going to hop into my inventor file for a sec. And this is where I make adjustments to the weapon hub. First things I do is I up to 10 quarter 20s from 1024s, which are really nice because they are less likely to shear. The other thing I also do is I remove a bunch of weight from the hub and make it smaller diameter so I can get some more reach. I do reduce the gear ratio, which is one of the problems I think with this robot currently, but my old hubs used to be like 1.5 pounds or something crazy. These ones were like half the weight, and it was so much worth it. It was like night and day. The other thing I added, which I don't have them in here, is you'll notice this big gap. What I noticed was my blades would taco, meaning all the energy would be transferred into the blade, and it would just die. Every time I've tacoed a blade, I don't think I would have won a fight anyway. Like, it would have kept spinning on a nice angle around and not hit my belt or something. But what I decided to add as a feature on this one is space to add TPU shock mounts that I print to a certain rectilinear infill. I actually printed the same TPU with different percentages rectilinear and actually used a shore hardness tester. And I ended up around like 65, 70% infill. And I actually can use these to shock mount my blades as well as to adjust blade heights. So for my horizontal blade, when I fight other horizontals, I actually raise the blade slightly between the two, so it's a little higher. The other thing I also did was reduced rake on all my blades, got others made, and I made a smaller diameter solid blade. Sievert is about 11 and a half inches in diameter, and the vert blade, because I wanted less of a lever arm, is actually 10.75-ish. And there's also no hole in here for weight relief. So I get a little more weight added, and it is what it is. But that seemed to help a lot with bending moving forward and reducing the bending. So with that, the next event I ended up going to, because I wanted to fight again, was May. So May was a bit different going into it. So May, I had made those changes. The other thing that I also didn't touch on, which you can see here in the CAD model, is people keep bending my frame. So over time, when I take weight out of something else and get weight back, I've slowly reduced these cutouts that I use to hold my weapon lock as well as weight relief to try to make these stiffer and bigger so they bend less. And it seems to have worked pretty good. So I'm happy about that. So with that, I also, with new pulleys, went to a bigger weapon motor because I was smoking the smaller motors. I actually went up to a 4120 from Sunny Sky. These motors, genuinely Sunny Sky, if you're on this stream, please sponsor me. I like these motors a lot. I smoke them, but they somehow run all the time, no matter what. And I don't really understand why. They kind of like smoking, but then they randomly like working. They're really expensive. Please give me money. I'm desperate. No one from Sunnyside is going to see this, but I can dream, you know? So with that, I go into the event with a new weapon motor and also a new belt setup. With this one, I run fully inverted timing belt, meaning the outside of the timing belt runs on the can, onto the pulley, and I gaff tape to get the belt tension right, which robots like Torrent, as well as a bunch of Beetles, do on like Peter bars and stuff. And it seems to work pretty good. Doesn't mean that I think it's the best. I honestly have considered changing it a couple of times, but I still have all these hubs that I got from China and they haven't broken, which is really nice. So now we move into the May event. So what's it called? My first fight of the day is against another horizontal made by Alexander Richmond called Cherno Alpha. I'm very sad to watch this fight as well as talk about it because shortly after this event, Alex Richmond unfortunately passed away in an accident. He was a big loss to the community, wonderful guy to talk to. Genuinely very sad that I won't get to fight this robot likely again or interact with him. So I miss that aspect a lot, and I haven't actually watched this fight since then. So, you know, it's a good time to watch. And going into this fight, fighting Caldera taught me a lot. So I'm running a 0-degree rake blade, and I go full reach because I want to hit him because we're about the same diameters, I'm pretty sure. So with that, we start the fight.
So bizarre, and I love it. It's a direct tangent drive.
Boom!
So
Nasty.
I immediately knock off his protective
Going up
nose, which is
against
cool.
Sievert by Matthew Lantry. Sievert is
Just driving around.
it's 2
We're just
and
hitting
2
each other.
overall
I managed to hit off one of his wheels in a lucky little swing,
Wow, man.
and then
Ow.
just keep
I'm
hitting
glad they're
him.
different colors
And
because
then
these two bots
Yeah, very
he's
similar
struggling to
style
move.
robots.
at the start, I mean, not so much anymore. As you see, there's
Still
pieces
going.
of alpha all over the cage right now. But man, this is a very good fight right now as far as the action.
And he ends up tapping out.
Just like that, a tap out.
Tough fight.
Now
I
you've
spoke
seen
but
Alexander Richmond
managed to
win
get some
before
good
with
hits.
his other bot, and
Fortunately, I think I'd gotten lucky in the reach war. I actually hit his nose cone off in the first hit, which I think was a benefit. But he also suddenly got closer to me, and I was very fortunate. He hit my bottom plate, actually, and removed some nice triangular chunks from it. So if the fight had gone on long enough, he actually could have removed my weapon shaft. The plates pretty much had this point where he clipped them out. And luckily it had enough support, but this plate could have easily been totaled. So I was very fortunate that, you know, the fight hadn't lasted as long, or I could have easily just had my weapon fall out. But a couple of nice hits, Very cool. Then we move on with the day. This is the first event where Sievert really hit hard. Um, the reason why I'm mentioning this is my next fight I have is against Carmen, which I'd fought at Moto. That fight, I went down, took my time to fight, and I told Donald, who came down with me, as soon as my weapon goes down, please just tap for me. I don't want to lose more parts. Um, so with that, I get a very lucky hit where I actually manage to hit Michael's wedge while his beater is spinning. So I rip his wedge off, somehow move his frame, and he loses his belt and he taps. Very lucky, honestly. So I'm 2-0 in the day, and then I go on to fight. This is killing me. I fight somebody else, I'm pretty sure. Because this is the first time I make prime time. I don't think I get a buy. I'm going to actually look this up real quick because it's bothering me that I don't know. For reference, by the way, not the most prepared on this. I recently got some surgery, so I'm a little off my rocker in terms of paying attention and getting everything figured out. So I just want to figure out what I fought else during May. Oh, I fought a robot named Marshmallow, which was a small vert that was also supposed to have a flamethrower from MIT. That fight got a couple of hits, throw off their weapon, their wedge, and then they flip on their head. I actually unplug their battery. My weapon motor goes up in smoke slightly after, which is the start of the trend with this robot that I hate, where the weapon motors just go up all the time. And I win the fight. That gets me into prime time, where I get the funnest robot I could have possibly imagined in Huge. Huge was driven by Don Dorfler, this event. I thought his brother Joe ran it, but I guess it's actually Don's robot. So it's something that I actually didn't really know too much about, which is cool. So going down, I'm like, oh, it's a Huge. I think horizontals do pretty good, but I have no clue. So going to the fight, I'm like, I'll run my belt guard and we'll do our best and see what happens. Huge has won a Golden Brett, and it's a really hard fight. So I'm like, let's see what happens. Win. I did better than I thought for the day. I was 3-0. Let's see how that goes.
All right. Here we go for real this time, Kyle.
So representing Brutus Robotics, it's Don Dorfler.
And Huge.
Yeah, kind of a big deal. You know what I mean? Huge. And they're going up against Team Pandemonium.
I had fun with my intro because I was like, let's be weird.
Sievert.
So you can actually see here what I was talking about earlier, Alex Richmond. You can see where he actually cut away my aluminum plate. So it could have actually went really badly if it had kept going, which is why I was like very lucky, honestly.
For a Huge style robot, it is a very powerful horizontal spinner driven by a master.
Kyle really likes hyping up my robot and my driving, but at this point, I still think I'm just okay. I'm not great.
Take it away.
Thank you so much, Sam. I am pretty darn
so
excited.
Huge is, at least this Huge, runs smaller wheels into horizontals and a smaller blade to reduce bending and damage.
I also thought,
so you can see ready to go.
Is the kryptonite to a robot like Huge. They're not worried at all. They're going into this.
I'm also noticing the stream delay is insane right now.
Open since its third place seating at the World Championships in 2023. They're going to see if they can beat that this time around.
We go and fight.
Wow, Sievert is coming out.
I managed to get like the first hit, and I think their weapon just dies, which is some insane miracle. Like it's not spinning,
I got to comment immediately. The weapon,
but then it comes back. So I'm just like, let me keep hitting them with my weapon. I'm just hitting their wheels, trying to break them. You hear my weapon going up and down, which will come up later.
They are taking pieces and pieces. Look at that front armor package that Sievert has added. That is a thicker piece of pink plastic on the front of the robot.
So they're down. Their drive seems a little impaired, but not quite. So I'm just hitting everywhere, bouncing all around, going crazy. Weapon spinning up and down.
Huge needs to work on is getting their opponent to hit the arena walls.
Of course, Sievert trying to hit the wheels.
So now they're down half drive, and I see full blood in the water. And their blade is tacoed. So Donald's telling me, chill, dude, you're going to win. And I am like, no, I want to kill him. I want to murder this robot. I want to KO huge. That's a really bad idea, FYI, for anyone who's wondering.
I think you're right. That curve
So, going to keep hitting them more and more.
The wheels are just getting chewed up bit by bit. Now you can see that weapon is hitting the floor, depending on how the wheels land.
Yeah, those.
So I spin around, and then
moves, and that is not
I start slowing down.
They have to be really careful.
And I slow down
Sievert
a
stops
lot.
for a moment. And a moment again, they are just barely moving. There's been some real damage to the inside.
So you can see how slow I'm moving. Now, if you could guess, it's my lipo.
With Sievert.
I had mentioned I was using this nice GNB 1856S that may not be a true 1856S.
That can be a critical electronics error.
Pretty much, I call for my unstick to try to burn the clock time. In hindsight, I probably wouldn't have won this fight, but I do something a little silly. My drive comes back for a second, I move, and you can actually see he's telling the ref you should stop unsticking, because he's moving. So I actually wasted my unstick. If I had not moved and let my battery cool, I maybe would have made it to the judges. I don't think I would have won, because I don't think during the function check I would have had any function, because I have just nothing. Zero.
I think something is dead or overheated, and that is unfortunate.
That's that. I lose a fight in a very depressing way, which sucks. Big learning experiences, though, from this fight. One, don't lose a fight you've won. I had this fight won. I just was dumb and didn't think about the consequences of hitting them harder, when I should have just slowed down, driven around, hit them a couple of times, and called it a night, meaning not hitting them consistently all the time. Number two, I learned to not trust all manufacturers' stated capacities. I also wasn't doing this battery any services. I knew a lot of people in Success had issues blowing up things rated for Success, which I think is possibly just a skill issue on most people's parts. But this battery was an LAHV battery, and I was charging it at LiPo voltage, which was slightly less per cell. So this 1850 was probably closer to like a 17 or a 1650, and I put a bigger motor in. When I fought Glenn with Caldera, when I'd spun up my weapon, that was 100% with the smaller motor. So I was able to just consistently move. So I'd gotten a false sense of security. I could run my robot at 100% beans, and that was not the case. So from that point forward, I actually wanted to make some bigger changes. So what was great about this event for me is my teammates, Ariel and Tim with Battle Tots, my unloved child Aiden pointed out earlier, actually got to top 4 and created a drop-down spot because Glenn had already, I think, qualified, so that had moved him up. And there was just a chain of qualifications where I actually got a qualification spot for finals, being only in the top 8, which was great. Genuinely very nice. So with that in mind, I wanted to make some changes, and I also wanted to have some fun. So the first thing was I had purged this battery from my existence. I know Lyndon and Jillian and others use this battery with great love. I hate this battery. So I ended up actually converting to a parallel battery setup with some lipos from Ovonic or whatever that are 1150s. I run them in parallel, and they actually sit in perfectly between wheel guards. But that made wiring inside this robot a nightmare. So pretty much the way that the robot now sits is there are 2 batteries that sit here and here, get plugged in around here. Then there's a V-Good that chills here, and 2 35 amp drive ESCs from Just Cause Robotics for my drive motors, and they just chill in my frame. It's very inconvenient. So that's that. So with that, I wanted to test some things, especially the wiring setup. So Zoe Lambert, but Shri, I see your comment about the batteries. Other people have had questions about the capacity because the 1850s that are also of that size and range from GNB, this battery is significantly lighter and smaller. So I don't trust that number, even though it's probably true. It's probably like a long range pack thing. I was probably pulling more amps from it than it was supposed to have pulled. But the point is, I hate that battery. I'm sure it's great. Lyndon and Jillian love it in Overlord. I don't. But pretty much, I genuinely like GMB batteries, by the way, Shri. I just use the 1150s because I couldn't fit anything else in my robot. That was kind of the size that worked to get me more capacity. So, my next event is in June. I actually drive down to Maryland to compete at Hive Hysteria hosted by Team Honeycracked because it'd be a fun event and I could do some fun, just kind of like driving matches. So I end up going down there, make a little vacation out of it, hang out with a bunch of people from Honeycraft, Team Defective, just a bunch of people. It was a great time. Someone asked me about the material of my frame. We'll get to that. It is 6061 for a long time until it isn't, which also probably wasn't helping things. So the thing that's interesting about Hive Hysteria is it's a poker chip system. You get 3 chips. Three. If you lose all your chips, you're out. But you fight until you win. So pretty much at this event, I was like, let me just fight some tough robots to start. So I actually fight Bob against Blue Marlin. Bob punches me around the arena, gets me out in the moat. I lose. Pretty quick and easy. My second fight, because I'm like, I like pain and Liam's nearby. I'm like, let me fight Buzzkill. I've never fought Buzzkill. He's an undercutter. Well, let's see what happens. So in this fight, I'm like, I gotta get up to speed and just hit him. Before this, I had not known, but pretty much Liam at this point had not lost to a horizontal since 2023. It is 2025 because he lost to Cthulhu, which is a bigger, more powerful horizontal than mine. So he made his robot not die to horizontals easily. But we'll watch this fight and you'll get to see some trauma. The other thing is, as a warning, I'm going to mute it. The stream audio for Hive Hysteria was very scuffed. There wasn't really anyone casting, but it was very loud. It would just boom randomly. So we start driving around, and I'm like, oh, I can drive somewhat. Liam just keeps cutting around me, slicing me up. I'm just trying to spin my weapon to hit him, not really doing all that well. Weapon goes down for some reason. I think stuff got caught in it. I'm like, let me drive into him a little. Weapon comes back, actually. But, oh, Liam just keeps pushing me around, just bullying me. I'm upside down, doesn't drive as nice. Then some of my drive goes down, like half drive. And then I'm just like, tap, I'm done. Just wasn't worth taking more damage, but Liam really beat up my frame. What I learned from this is Buzzkill's front wedge is very beefy, and this is a smaller arena, and I just didn't drive well. But I'm like, I'll drive around some. So pretty much after this fight, I'm down to 1 chip. So I fight a bunch of other robots. I fight Joe, the guy who makes Dead Rise. He usually, for this event, makes something fun. He made a giant wooden Smee, which a lot of people had fun hitting. The other thing I thought was Diet Buzzkill. By that I mean Anthony from Anubis made a robot called Crazy Diamond. It's effectively Waddles, Buzzkill, and Maximizer put together in one with many aspects. And the problem with that is, the reason why I mentioned this is Anthony forgot his weapon stack, which was really funny. By that I mean he forgot his 17mm tapered roller bearings. So he was driving it as a wedge. So he's like, oh, I want to test my wedge to see how it is. So we lined up a couple of shots, dented his wedge, tapped, and that was that. I also fought Ethan Shipley with his robot circuit. It was a hammer. I hit the hammer and bent it around. It's a fun little piece in my case. The last fight I had for the day was against Matt from Team Defective, otherwise known as Bunger. Because I wanted to fight Blue Cheese, because if there's an expression that I want people to adopt, if your robot can survive or fight cheese, it's good enough for most 12-pound events. Blue cheese has had a storied history of being memed to death. By that I mean people remember its beater exploding and think it's not a good robot. The problem is it hits really hard, and people forget about that. And Matt has also made a bunch of changes to the beater, and it's pretty good now. Actually, it actually I think got fourth at Hive. So I was like, I'm gonna fight Blue Cheese and see if my robot can cheese. Because if it can cheese, it can do well. The other thing to note is Blue Cheese used to be wheeled, not shredded. So going into this fight, I said the funniest thing ever to Matt, which is not Matt directly, but in general, which is I just need to get to the side of it and hit the tread. That's all I need to do. Blue cheese isn't that mobile; it's a giant beater. So that's what I said to myself, and you'll see why that was maybe not the best choice. So I'm like, oh, I can drive around him. I cannot. Matt sent me into the ceiling. Now, my weapon's still spinning, which is sick. Oh, I'm going to mute the audio. I forgot. Then he emotes me, but you'll notice something. That's crazy. My weapon is spinning. Now, I had never really gotten to test the shock mounting of my weapon until this event. What's crazy is Matt bent my blade ever so slightly, but it had not sheared bolts and it had not bent in a way where it would have hit anything. The thing Matt did is, though, transfer the force into my frame, and it's actually slightly bent now. And my plates are 60-61. So I had shifted the failure mode, which was great, genuinely great. So this event taught me that my battery system gave me more capacity, which was nice, as well as worked. It didn't blow up from being parallel packs, from losing sync or anything like that. And that my weapon mounting shock system had worked. Bob from Blue Marlin also hit it a couple of times, and it had bent the blade ever so slightly. But you could see the TPU was actually squished a little bit, which means it was doing its job, which is great. So it sort of cheesed. I would have probably eventually had my weapon destroyed by Matt, but I got moated, fortunately. The moat was great, you know? Everyone loves the moat. There's a great little Jake copy pasta someone made where it's just the AI voice of people getting moated. But pretty much with that, that was Hive Hysteria. Had a lot of fun. Would recommend going if you're got the time in the summer. It's very chill. They aren't big on rushing people. It's pick your own fights, so you could fight twice if you want. You could fight once if you're Brandon Bennett Young, because he also wanted to test the blue cheese theory, but he made that his first fight. Or you can fight a bunch. I think Matt, or not Matt. I think in the end I'd gotten like 6 fights total, and I think some people even got more, which is cool. And I see your comment, Matt. The other thing is I've also started to learn throttle control and not going full weapon all the time, which is nice. But either way, driver issue and not respecting Blue Cheese's drive was the problem with this one. So that's Hive Hysteria. Next event I end up going to is October NHRL. Now, the main change for October NHRL is that I adjust my bottom plates. I end up asking Ben from UCCR, because he was doing machining posts, to oh, you said you got half weapon throttle. Sorry, I mixed that up. But what I ended up doing is I actually got these plates made out of 2024 aluminum, which was nice. So pretty much I had Ben cut them on his water jet and actually pocket the bottom plate to get weight out of it instead of doing all these penetrations, because these plates get expensive with a bunch of laser cut penetrations for weight savings. So Ben ended up cutting me some nice pockets in the bottom plate, as well as, well, just the bottom plate. But I ended up having him do little pockets in the top plate too, which is not in this model. So I get some weight and some more internal space, which is nice for getting wires in. And it's now 2024, which I'm not going to get into the material science, but 6061 is more general purpose stuff, which is pretty good. But there's also 7075, which is stiffer, but has a tendency to want to crack when it bends. 2024 is almost like a compromise between the two. So Ben 2024 is very uncommon to find. Like Senkatsen doesn't really carry it, and other vendors, so it's hard to find. But Ben was able to get through like Midwest Steel or something, so I ended up just getting it through him, and he got it to me in time for October, and I was able to run these plates, which are nice. So with that, we'll watch some of October. So for this event, I fought Crazy Diamond a second time for my first fight, which is really funny because for that fight, I was running 2 robots at this event. Fun fact: if you're going to do this, remember to change your profiles or your transmitter. Because I brought down my transmitter and it was on my tiny huge for little man's profile, and my drive was way inverted, so I was rotating my controller trying to fight. It was really funny because it wasn't a great fight. I then end up fighting after I fight. I managed to win against Crazy Diamond. I end up fighting Kit, which is another horizontal. That one, we get a couple good hits. He actually cleaves my pulley as well, similar to Glenn from Caldera. But we hit each other. I managed to rip off one of his wheels, and he taps. Following that, I go into a fight against Julian, Papazian, and Leviathan. Julian's robot Leviathan, he'll tell you, isn't great because it's a new robot, as well as has a lot of flaws. I don't know if he exactly would say that, but I just remember him being down on this robot. We're going to watch this fight, and you'll understand why I'm a little surprised by him saying that. So he's a really big wedge. My intent is to try to get to the sides to rip the wedge off. I chopped wheel guards to try to make it so it was harder to get stuck. But that was really the only thing I did. So he's hitting his wedge. I'm actually cutting away CPU that's mounting it. But I go flying all over the place, because this robot loves bouncing. And we just keep clanging. I am slowly bending the wedge, which is interesting. But I'm slowing down my weapon so I don't get stuck in the wall / stall it real bad. I get stuck on the wall, but I managed to vibrate myself off. You can see my weapon motor starts to smoke, so I turn off my weapon motor for a sec. Now, the robot doesn't drive as well upside down, so I'm letting the motor cool down for a sec. I also don't think it's working. Someone's like, oh, just try it again. So I turn on my weapon motor, and it spins. And yeah, I do a countdown head bob. It's like a stim thing, I don't know. Turn off my weapon because I'm against the wall. At this point, I think I got lucky and hit the saw in one of the exchanges, so Julian can't saw me. I have very thin carbon fiber. He would have cut right through. The weapon motor just loves spinning, and I don't know why. That's why I said, Sunny Sky, please sponsor me. Now this fight, Julian just bodies me for 3 minutes. Like, genuinely just bodies me. And I don't know why he bodies me so much. This robot does not drive great sometimes. He also loves me in the helicopter. But pretty much just like gotta keep hitting Julian, do damage, all the things. So at this point, I think my weapon is down, possibly. No, it's not. Oh, it's magic. So I'm totally just cutting through the ground. Just hanging. So at this point, I would slowly rip off the saw. Julian's doing a good job controlling me. Rip off the saw. And I actually take out the camera in that hit, and my weapon actually struggles to spin up. So this fight actually is incredibly close. It's supposed to, in the end, I think it's like a 9-8, 10-7 for 2 judges. And Julian has like all the control. I only won because of damage and aggression because I had my weapon. During the function check, at first my weapon doesn't spin up. Then all of a sudden, as they're about to input damage, I just hit the throttle again and it comes back and they give me full function where Julian's down his saw and I win the JD. Genuinely very lucky. Julian probably should have won the fight if, Sunny Sky just didn't make a quality product. It's crazy to me that that motor didn't die. So very happy about that. So that's that. Now with that, I move on to prime time. This was top 16. And with that, you'll never guess who I get again. And I go upstairs and he says, guess who you have? You'll never guess. I get Void for the 4th time this year. Now, at this point, I've already qualified, so is Void, so we're just here for kicks, fighting for glory, all that. I really wanted to win this fight for just having the right to win. So I'm going in really just trying my best, going to drive better, hopefully, even the last time. And let's see how that goes. Oh, someone had a question. Is there a specific asymmetry that makes it drive worse upside down than right side up? So the problem with it is I have a top cover panel that sits slightly lower than the bottom, like about 1.5 millimeters, which I actually address in the finals revision to make it in line. And the problem is then the bolt heads are lower, and the bolt heads, I think, start to rub as my wheels wear. So that's one of the problems.
Yeah, this is going to be a classic vertical versus horizontal matchup. The big wedge leading to the big drisk on Void. Sievert,
it's not a drisk, but that's funny.
Single-sided giant bar
so
spinner. Big
get the robot ready.
Void actually KO'd Sievert back in April of this year, and so Sievert is going to be looking for some payback and revenge here in the arena. Let's see.
They say it
if
best.
They can do it.
I want payback and revenge.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Fight, robots, fight.
Away we go.
So I'm taking my time trying to find a better hit.
Statistics. Void is exactly twice as experienced as Sievert with exactly double the record.
I managed to clip his wedge there and jam up his front wheel, which is insanely lucky for me. Insanely.
Oh, interesting.
So now I'm taking my time. I managed to clip the other side a little bit.
Left is struggling.
Sievert not really taking any chances.
But now I'm like being dumb and taking my time. I could have hit him really hard in the back and just didn't.
That is an intense wedge on the front of Void. Sievert does
so
not want to skip.
He's down half drive, but I know at any minute it could come back. There could be just something jamming it. I got stuck in the wall immediately, and you can see me scream unstick.
There comes the unstick.
I'm gonna pause. When I do this, I believe I leave my weapon motor on or trying to pull voltage, and V-Goods love giving pulling of power.
They immediately knew.
So you'll see something happen when I go to spin up again. I bang the wall because I'm stupid.
No, you get one.
Weapon motor just goes up.
No!
Which I'm really good at doing. If there was an award for blowing out weapon motors, I would have it. But you can see Void's struggling to drive. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to bump into him. It is what it is. I'm just going to hit him.
Sievert a little bit too cautious off the bat, had opportunities to back a Void, but Void still
so just gonna keep driving into him, see what happens.
The massive opportunity they've been given.
You can see I kind of have some driving errors here where he gets under me. He actually damages the wheel a little bit.
But with one side of
now you can see Trevor's struggling to drive.
Themselves. Yes, they're going to have to request an unstick soon.
Sievert and L, though,
so now I'm just trying to crab walk to survive. Damages my drive, but I can move. Trevor calls for his unstick.
Spread like some sort of box into the rest of its electronics.
So here's the unstick request with just over a minute left. They should be able to get unstuck. What are they stuck on here? Are they high-centered on themselves? In which case, they might not be able to get unstuck.
So you can see he's just barely not moving enough, but he's trying to get his unstick. The unstick, you can actually see ends, and you can see he's trying to move, but just not getting anything.
Oh, look at the sparks flying. It's their wedge, Adam. Their wedge has been pushed all sorts of wonky.
And then that's the end of the fight.
Front armor package.
And this is one of my proudest fights of the year, genuinely. I genuinely thought I was bad at driving this robot until this fight where I managed to get lucky. Not lucky. I'm not even going to call it luck at this point. I managed to drive well enough to clip Trevor's drives on both sides where I managed to disable his drive enough where it was a problem. And I genuinely was very happy with the fight. And I always love fighting Trevor. He's the nicest guy. After this fight, he actually helps me fix my robot to try to get ready for Slam Plan. Unprompted, he just comes over to help me. Trevor's amazing. 10 out of 10, you should talk to Trevor if you ever have time. And you haven't. But I was just so overcome with emotion. It was a fight that I'd wanted to win just to kind of keep the rivalry growing, because every event we are at, we usually end up fighting each other, which is very funny. And that's that. So pretty much after this fight, I'm in the top 4, which is the first time I've ever gotten to top 4 at NHRL, which was big for me. A lot of stuff is messed up. I have to change the weapon motor. I have a drive ESC die, and I change out the drive, but my drive's still a little funky when I go to test it, but I don't have the time. So I end up just getting the robot ready for Slam Plan, where I'm not going to show you the clip, but it does not go well. First hit, I get thrown towards the Brett, and then he just goes through my robot's butt and rips out the electronics. What's very interesting is one of the gearboxes is a little messed up. Reassembling it seemed to fix it. I didn't lose anything, even though my robot spaghettied everywhere, which was crazy to me, if I'm being honest. But with that, that's my last event for qualifiers, and then we go to NHRL finals. Now, back to the original thing. What I ended up doing on this robot was I ended up pocketing the plates down, so my top plate would be inset, so I would drive symmetrically. And genuinely, I was very lucky that I was able to do that, because it helps driving upside down and all that. And Super Ben was also great with turnaround. He did it super fast. I had him in hand 2 weeks before finals, literally ordering them right after October. And that was the main change for October. Aside from making some spares, and also for Julian, he kind of schooled me with control bots. I ended up making some wider wheels with some chamfers and some gear protectors, so I could maybe drive on my side a little more instead of getting hovering as much. As well as I made a thinner blade to get some weight back, because with these pocketed plates, I didn't take enough out, and I was actually really close to weight against Slam Plan, where I couldn't run wheel guards. I had to run just the armor nose cone, which wouldn't have done anything anyway. So with that, we go into finals. Finals, I had competed with my 3-pounder Half-Life the year before, and I hadn't been very fortunate competing. What I mean by that is I went 0-2 and I felt terrible. I just felt like I put so much pressure on myself and it didn't go well. So going into this event, I wanted to win one fight, and I just wanted to have fun with my friends and competitors, and that was it. So I went in not really caring, meaning it is what it is. Whatever happened, happened. So for the entire week leading up to it, I got William, I'm going to probably say his name wrong, but he may or may not watch this, Marchese, with Backlash Wave. Not Backlash Wave, that's the Beetle, Adamant Barrage. This robot was very scary to me. And everyone was like, you got this, you should be able to win. The reason why it's scary to me is this robot and the way William drives it, he just doesn't give up. He will give it his all, no matter what. And people have a tendency to lose to it without meaning to lose to it. Meaning they just underestimate it. So I was going in full respect into this fight. I put on my armor nose, and my plan is just to go weapon to weapon slowly so he can't bounce over me and hit my top plate and set me on fire, or I get thrown into the wall. So let's see how that goes.
Pandemonium. He is one of the best drivers in the sport, bringing you this beautiful.
Kyle loves saying best driver in the sport. I hate it.
Spinner of doom. Both of these competitors told
I'm
me
really
yesterday
not.
they are not happy with this first matchup and are deathly afraid of their opponents. I am really excited to see how this one goes. I am really hoping for the underdog win here for Adamant Barrage and William Marchese, but it is a very close matchup with these two different design types.
Yeah, last time I saw Adamant Barrage fight, it was very impressive. Like,
It's
to
such
say
a cool
the least.
machine. Giant weapon, very small body, hard to reach, especially in this situation.
5.
But
Unique
Sievert,
design on the forks.
3.
yeah,
I
really
really
cool
appreciate
that
that.
U-shaped
So,
design on the forks.
Fight starts.
Here we go.
Taking it slow and cautious.
Matt Lantry is a
Just weapon to weapon as much as I
thoughtful
can.
and talented driver.
Stay in the middle of the box so I don't go
But
throwing into
weapon to
walls.
weapon.
Bold strategy.
And what I actually end up doing is snapping his upright because he hits himself, which is crazy.
Sievert is not going
And then I'm just like, William's trying to
He's just taking
clearly get near the
swings and
walls to
blows.
maybe get me stuck in the wall. It's actually
Chasing
really
those
smart
wheels,
driving from
William
him.
says, no, thank you.
So just keep driving slowly, hitting him.
Ooh, nasty. Nice little side shot on the wheel there.
And then
and that's some
that's
really
pretty much the
disgusting
fight.
beige smoke coming out.
So what ended up happening here is actually he was probably giving it current. His V-Good actually desoldered, and he was using that for the Beck for his receiver. Genuinely thought this fight I was going to lose the entire time. I'm like, I'm going to lose this fight because William just has some magic in him, and he can pull wins out of nowhere. And that's genuinely a talent that I respect, is he just doesn't give up. And you can see he was even trying to get me stuck in the wall, just driving near the wall. Because one hit into the wall, I could have just died. So that's that. You can also see here my wonderful teammate Alex wearing his Halloween costume, which is Sievert. And it's a great costume. I ended up leaving it in intro because I have no space to put it. So, that's unfortunate, but we move on. So, going into this fight, whoever won was going to either get whoever won or lost was either going to get a bye or fight Buzzkill, who I fought earlier. Now, since fighting Crazy Diamond, I realized that I needed to change how I was going to fight Liam, which was give it my all. So I actually go back and give up on the idea of little to no rake. What I mean by that is I actually get I get a blade made that is slightly asymmetric, and it has 15 degrees of rake because I'm like, I just have to bite into his wedge. If I don't get bite, I'm going to lose. And if I get stuck in the wall, the only thing I told Alex was when I go to fight Liam again, if I get stuck in the wall, I'd rather not just lose a bunch of parts in a fight that I don't think I'm going to win. Just tap. So
it's quite a tricky one.
Let's see how this fight goes.
Who built it better?
This is why you and I are good commentary pairs, because you're focused on the physics and the weapons themselves. But I'm thinking this is all going to come down to driving, and I think we're both right. Is the thing.
Yeah.
So I know Liam's going to swerve and steer, and I'm going to do the same.
Just watch drive. We have the seeding graphic here on the screen here. Buzzkill is the number 2 seed. And Sievert hasn't cracked the top 10 seed, but hasn't competed as much. He hasn't competed as much.
Yeah, overall record really good for Sievert, 10-4.
So start driving cautiously. Try to clip the side of his wedge.
Another instance of quantity.
Not very lucky. I'm near the wall. I'm a little scared, so I'm like, let me get away from the wall.
He's got that really fast turn speed.
This hit
right now
was huge.
Buzzkill is doing a great job of staying square against.
You can actually see I've peeled Liam's wedge, which is a great angle for me to keep peeling it. It's also doing some internal damage, which will come up later.
Sievert almost doing what Tombstone kind of famous for. He was swinging around.
Adam's also giving me the Tombstone credit. That is not. That's just me randomly flinging my blade, hoping.
Wedge on Buzzkill peeling off.
So you can see I'm peeling it more and more over time.
A lot of weapon-to-weapon contact.
And you're going to see the first smoke. I actually turn off my weapon, and I'm like, I'm going to drive around. I'm going to run away a little bit. I'm going to let it cool down. Because my motor's getting a little, enamel's burning, let it cool down. So I turn it back on, get a couple more hits.
Now is it overheating?
Throw it again.
Is it something slipping?
You can see now I'm driving upside down way better because the plate's now inset. It's great. Weapon smokes again. I turn it off, let it chill. I'm letting it chill.
And sometimes they can just start to get a little intermittent. Have trouble starting up, but wow, both sides now peeling off on the wedge on Buzzkill.
And now you can
Sievert
see
now
I'm really
doing the
tacoing the
knocking
wedge.
around, and Buzzkill circling around the arena trying to get advantageous position.
Peeling back,
and it is just
the
peeling.
wedge, trying to get at the juicy core of Buzzkill.
It's got some sort of mustache shape to it now.
And now you can see my weapon motor actually smokes again.
Oh, that's
the weapon keeps
and at this point, fire had come out of it, I believe.
On purpose.
Buzzkill has a couple moments where they're able to get behind Sievert, and that's really where the undercutter wants to be.
Oh, no, not yet.
Chew you up where you
I think I get 1 or 2 more hits. And now you can see fire comes out of my motor. You're like, oh, this motor must be dead. So I turn off my weapon. I'm like, I'm not going to spin it up anymore. And Alex is like, save it for the function check. I'm like, yeah. So now I'm just going to kind of hug him like a boxer, trying to just buy my time.
Buzzkill's feeling pretty good.
And I'm like, I did pretty well. I went off 2 minutes. Let me just try to pull this to the end. See what happens. Maybe I win it, maybe I don't.
Do a lot of visible damage. That undercutter not really biting a lot, but
so I'm just like trying to just lean against him, and then I am very lucky. Liam's weapon actually goes down, and I'll tell you why after.
Good enough job of controlling in the last 30 seconds of this fight, or somehow stopping Buzzkill's weapon too. Scoring
and then we just start pushing each other around, trying to see who can get a pin, who doesn't.
Whose pin is it anyway?
Liam has the advantage because he can get under me, but we're both just able to just delay it.
Locking up who in these control exchanges? Both weapons are down on both robots, but they're fighting the classic sumo match instead now. That looked like Buzzkill was a little more firmly in control. I'm just going to count for the judges in this last 15 seconds of the fight. Now we're in the last second.
Strong end from Buzzkill.
What a slugfest.
Is the weapon still working? See if they spin up at the end.
So that fight was very close until it wasn't. What I mean by that is both of us are down weapon, control, I'm kind of bouncing around. Pretty much I win the fight on damage because that Sunny Sky motor, even though it caught fire, during the function check, it spun up pretty good to get me full weapon. And I looked at the scorecard, 6-0 damage, and I ended up winning like 10-7, 9-8 because Liam had control and aggression. I was shocked I won this fight. I was assuming I was going to have to tap immediately. It was genuinely a great fight. And I'm very happy with how the robot does at this point. Now, what's really, really funny about this is we're in a group of robots for the top 16. And now I'm in the top 16 because I've gone 2-0, and now I'm waiting for my opponent. Right after this fight, actually, in the stream, there is a robot fight against Slam Plan and Xenomorph. Now, they're both big verts. Xenomorph pulls off the win, which drops Slam Plan into the loser area. Slam Plan then wins its next fight against Budget Boy, and I get Slam Plan again. I really just want a better fight than the first fight I had against Slam Plan. The problem is this robot had taken a bunch of damage. Liam had sheared some screws. The weapon motor burnt out. The dry pods I wasn't 100% on because a couple wheels had gotten clipped. So I swapped to my second frame with a full wire harness that I had built and prepared for this occasion because I assumed I was going to lose a robot somewhere along the line during the day. I tested the wire harness very lightly. So I put in my robot into the harness and we go to fight. When I do that, there's a problem. There's no problem. I twitch test, it spins the right way. The robot's ready for hours. Maybe not hours, but like an hour and a half on my table. I'm ready to fight Slam Plan. So go downstairs, we enter the box, I spin up, go to my corner. First hit, I go flying slightly into the glass, and then suddenly my weapon ESC just sets fire to the inside of my robot. I don't know 100% why. I have two theories. On Sievert, to make the phase wires fit, because they're epoxied wires, they're not flexible like badass motor wires, I actually trim them and resolder them, so I have to remove the epoxy with like some Kneepex strippers or burning the epoxy off. It's possible the weapon motor I put in, I didn't strip enough epoxy off. Or the other theory is I just got a bad V-good and that set fire to the robot. I was disappointed in the loss, but I had a good day, so I kind of just shrugged. Fortunately, I think most of the stuff kind of survived. A few things desoldered. I kind of just went out, got the robot out, put it in a trash bag, and then called it a night and just chilled. Um, I think I could have done better against Slam Plan if my wire harness hadn't gone up. At least I could have gotten a couple of hits instead of immediately losing. But all things considered, I didn't lose as much as I thought. I did end up throwing the batteries away because they were covered in melted ESC, and I didn't want to really risk them. So that's that for Sievert's year. Finals, I ended up going 2-1, making the top 16, which was better than I thought. I thought I was going to maybe get one win and then lose the other two, but going 2-1 was over expectations. So with that, what is the future of Sievert? I plan to run it again next year, but I want to make some changes. Mainly, nothing mechanical, actually. I like everything about this robot, mechanically, including the belt setup, even though it's not the best. What I want to do is I want to change some electrical stuff. I want to change some wire routing things. And I want to try to current limit my motor to see if I can stop it from cooking itself as easily. What I mean by that is I'm going to probably try either a Lucid 90 amp with a big aluminum block with current limiting, which might be too little for this motor because this thing pulls up to 100 amps, where a Lucid is rated for 90, but I'm hoping it's maybe overbuilt and with a heatsink it can take it. Or I'm going to run a Vesk 80 amp with current limiting after talking with some people. Both of those I don't love, but the V-Good I think is just giving it all the beans, and it doesn't like that it's getting all the beans. So we're going to try that and see what happens. So with that, this robot is pretty much all the parts I have mechanically aren't super damaged. So I can run it again next year without having to buy new parts. The only thing is just electronics and some new batteries and stuff. But overall, my year in review, I'm very happy. This robot overperformed expectations. Going into Moto Rama, I thought it was going to go 0-2, and then I was going to have to make a bunch of changes to make it good. The robot itself is pretty solid through every iteration. I've been happy with it. Just things I want to fix on it and make it better so it can be better. But that's kind of it. I'm going to wait for the stream to catch up, see if anyone has any questions, but that's kind of it. Let's see if I can mess up OBS when I go to full screen. Actually, I'm not going to full screen. I'll just stay picture in picture. But yeah, overall, my year was very good. Want to thank my sponsors, Overture. All the TPU you see on it in PLA is Overture brand TPU or Super PLA. Super PLA caps are actually really good. They got hit directly by Buzzkill and they just got chunked. They didn't shatter or anything. Getting thrown around, hitting the floor, it was great. Would recommend Super PLA for things that don't matter in terms of heat. TPU prints nicely as well. The other thing, shouting out Just Cause Robotics, even before Seth started sponsoring us, I was actually using his 35 amp AM32 ESCs. The only modification I made is I removed the little sticker and put on a bigger heatsink, but I have current limiting on these and they've been honestly bulletproof in the robot. And it's been good. So the other things I want to shout out all my teammates who helped me throughout all the design process, advice, just soundboarding, changes, things like that. I couldn't have done it without them. Genuinely very happy to be part of such a lovely team who were so helpful. Now we wait for stream delay. Oh, I'm not shouting out White Getty Wheels, Ariel. Not gonna do that. Because I don't sponsor my own robot. But that's kind of it. Anyone have any questions about the robot, about the year, anything? If not, I'll call it. I actually kept this to an hour and a half, which is pretty cool. I thought this was going to take way longer. Well, I think with that, I'm going to end the stream. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure. I did this more just to VOD myself and talk through some things. If you like it, let us know. Maybe other people on our team will take the initiative and do something similar where they just talk through their year or their build or whatever. I don't think there's enough people talking about their builds and stuff like that. And everyone have a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Festivus, Happy New Year. Be happy, healthy, safe, and hopefully see a lot of you in 2026. Bye-bye.